Hi everyone, good afternoon. This is Quanisha Smith, the founder and chief activator of the Black Women Rise movement and your Black Woman CEO coach. So I have my computer here, so we're just gonna wait for some ladies to jump on to our chat and chew that is happening. So we're going to do these Tuesdays at noon. I see one person jumped on. If you're watching, say hello in the chat box so I know who's here. Hey, Leslie. She said, hi, coach. Leslie is one of my awesome Black Women CEO clients. So, hey, girl, how you doing? And I see some other folks are jumping on. So as you jump on, introduce yourself so I know who's here. And I'm going to refresh our group so I can also see. There we go. I can also see online here. Hey. So I just want to give about like 2 or 3 minutes for folks to jump on. So we are live. And today we're going to talk about how to make it happen. I don't know. Well, I was going to say I don't know, but you should know, because if you've gotten our Black Woman CEO toolkit, one of the things that is included is the Black Woman Leadership Guide, 12 effective leadership resources for Black women. And in that, I share information about the Strength Finders book. And with the Strength Finders book, it gives you a test. I think the test maybe takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do. And it tells you your top 5 strengths. And one of the reasons why I call myself the chief activator is because my top strength is activation, which they describe as making it happen. And it's funny. Well, it's not funny. It was almost confirmation, because one of, I guess you can say, the compliments, or one of the things that people would often say about me when I was in nonprofit leadership and a community organizer was, oh, Quanisha will make it happen. So I'm known for implementing and getting things done. And those are skills that I took over into my business. So it's really important to know your strengths, right? Because if you know your strengths, you can maximize them. And I also am very aware of what I'm not so great at. So I like to say my little subpar strengths. So I also know when to get support in particular and when to get help. And even some of the things that you are great at, it's still helpful to ask for help and maybe get support in it so that you're not stressing yourself out, or you're maximizing really what you want to do and what you're great at doing, especially when you think about running a business, and particularly those CEO tasks, which I often say is to drive the vision and drive revenue. So if you're not kind of working on those two things, you might be doing too much. So I only see Leslie's on right now, so maybe we'll get started here. So how you doing, Leslie? Leslie is an awesome psychologist. Well, I won't say psychotherapist, because she is also has a master's in social work like I do. So we love our social workers here. And she just started one thing that we worked on together was starting her life coaching business. So if you're seeking, I'm well, thank you. She has how am I? I actually just came from the Launch Your Business Live, but let me finish telling you about Leslie. So if you're a professional woman who is seeking an optimum balance, right? Your life is hectic. Maybe you feel like you're being overlooked for promotions and you're just like, how do I do this all? Maybe I don't feel so good about myself, but I'm putting on this outward front that I am. Please go click on Leslie's name and go to her website so you can check her out, because she's great at helping women through that. So I see some more folks are jumping on. So please introduce yourself so I know who's here. And Leslie asked, how am I doing? I'm doing really well. I just actually came back from Atlanta. I was at the Launch Your Business Bootcamp counseling space. You can put your link there, Leslie, so everyone can see it. I just came from the Launch Your Business Bootcamp, where with Happy Black Woman, with Zebra Thurman of Happy Black Woman. Hey, Ingrid. And it was a blast. I'm the program director at Happy Black Woman, so I help folks with client support. I also co-coach with Rosetta and the Empowerment Circle. So I'm just all up in the Happy Black Woman community. Happy Black Woman is actually where I started. Actually, when Rosetta was doing her nonprofit work, I started there and thinking about how can I learn skills to run a business. And I took her Launch Your Business course almost years ago. And I retook it when I joined the mastermind last year. And that really, so getting mentorship from Rosetta Thurman, Dr. Venus Opal Reese, and now Monica Agando has really helped me to hit many milestones in my business. And actually this weekend, I was honored for my third time in receiving a Happy Black Woman Achievement Award for one, hitting 1,000 likes on our Facebook page. We actually are close to 2,000 right now. There's like 1,963 or something. And in October 2015, I had my first 5K month. So I generated over 5K in revenue within 1 month. The total now, I told myself I would add it up. I've been in business about 7 months. And I've generated close to 40K in revenue. So I've been really excited about the success I have. Hey, Twanda. Hey, Tanisha. How are you all doing? And my revenue streams come in different ways. So I do, like I said, I'm the program director. So I get income coming in that way. So you can say that's freelancing or contract work that I do. I also do some speaking and workshops. I still do some of those. One particular organization that I work with is a Better Chance here in Lower Marion. Some of you might be familiar with the National Better Chance. It's a preparatory organization. And then the other part of my income comes in through coaching. So the Black Women CEO coaching. So, there's definitely many different ways you can bring in income, but my suggestion is you focus. And so that's some of the things we're going to talk about today. So, hey y'all, I see, she's Maria on here, but I know her as Dr. Angela, who's my mastermind sister, just joined us. And we are going to get started soon, but I wanted to quickly acknowledge Dr. Angela because I'm wearing my blue and green just for her. She is going to do a Facebook Live video later this afternoon. Her company is Healthy Villages. So Dr. Angela, if you can maybe post your website, and she's honoring her baby love. One thing we often don't talk about, hey sister love, she says, are pregnancy losses. I've had 2 myself. So if you ever read my About Me page, that in 2012, I attempted to take my own life. And for me, it was the accumulation of so many things. Living a childhood of trauma, living with my drug-addicted mother, and some of the things that went on in our house that I didn't talk about, and I still don't talk about a lot of them. My brother being murdered my freshman year of college, getting married at about 21, which was a bad idea. But in that marriage, I actually had 2 second trimester miscarriages. I learned that I have an incompetent cervix. So sometimes when we don't heal, and Leslie and Dr. Angela is also a social worker, so Leslie and Dr. Angela are social workers. As you know, when we don't heal and we don't get these things out, they stay inside of us, right? And as I think a video did a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how we need to catch our thoughts. I had a number of negative thoughts, which led to this almost fatigue. I was so tired, and I was just like, I am done fighting. I've been fighting my whole life. Right? And this hyper focus of trying to better myself and going. And it was 2012 and I sat on my bathroom floor ready to take my own life. And luckily, I had sent a text earlier that day to my now fiance that said, please tell my 3-month-old son that I love him. And of course that worried him because I was by myself. My son was with him. And that all these chain of events went on in the background, which I wound up not attempting to do it because what I did decide to do was write a suicide letter, which wound up being 4 pages back and front, and it was cathartic. It got all what I call the death call out. But I still wound up in the hospital because my surrogate mother came and got me, and they were like, we're worried about you. But the reason why I'm telling the story, especially as it pertains to the topic of how to make it happen, is I was journaling why I was in the psych ward, and my big question was, how the hell did I get here? How did I get here? Mind you, that was my 3rd inpatient hospitalization for suicidal ideation. That last time was the closest I came to really being like, I'm done. I had a plan, right? And one of the last things I wrote in journaling that evening while I was there was that I'm stronger than this. So I said, I'm stronger than this. Now that's a different strength than our strong Black woman strength. When I said I'm stronger than this, I said I can figure out how to live. Right? I knew that my whole life I had these visions of going to Harvard and become a doctor, and that drove my academic success. And one thing I said I knew about myself earlier in this video is that I know how to make it happen. And although I felt like my mind was resolving to kill me, in some sense, when you think about what mental health is, a lot of times it's these thoughts just taking over you. I knew that my mind was also my answer. And it wasn't just my mind, it was also support systems and all these other things. But one thing that I did was that I redefined, for me, what it meant to be a strong Black woman. So I held on to that trope, because it was so important to me, because I feel like the strength of our mothers, our ancestral mothers, is what keeps us going often in times in face of strife and oppression and all those kind of things. But it also kills us at the same time when you think about what the strong Black woman means, right? It often means neglecting ourselves in service of other people. We often give to our own detriment. So a lot of us make it happen at our expense. So I had to think about, what did it mean to make it happen? What did it mean to be stronger than this, but in a way that was healthy for me? And I love Brene Brown, Dr. Brene Brown. You may know her book, Daring Greatly, and The Gifts of Imperfection. And I love her view of strength as vulnerability. And that's when I decided to start walking in my story, saying my story out loud and getting some support in how to tell it. So that's where a lot of my mentorship came in, particularly with Dr. Venus Opal Reese. But tell it in service of other Black women and start teaching you all the same strategies that I use to basically save my life. You know, within leaving the hospital, within about 2 weeks, I got a job. I had a job created for me. I got promoted 2 years later, within about a little less than 2 years, to co-executive director. And then I started graduate school. And then from there, I went into full-time business. Like I said, I've had a number of achievements. One is hitting 5K months, having consistent revenue generation coming in, getting 1,000 women on our Black Women Rise list. But it all starts with this idea of how to make it happen. So I have a question for all of you now that you know a little bit more about me and my journey as Quanisha Smith, as the founder of the Black Women Rise and our Black Women CEO Circle. I want to ask you, what keeps you from making it happen? So what keeps you from implementing in your business? So I know a couple of you are still here. So if you can answer that question, what keeps you from implementing in your business? Because that's actually our topic today and how to make it happen. So I'll give you all some time to write, because I know some of you might be on your phones, and I'm going to drink my coffee out of a straw. So one of the benefits of being at an event for 3 days is that I was pretty tired, and I was like, I have to have energy to do my call. So Tanisha says fear. Yes, fear is a big one that keeps a lot of people from implementing. Any others? What are some other things that keep you from implementing? Not being consistent. So Dr. Angela says, and Maria on here says, not being consistent and fear of success or outdoing my family and friends. Tanisha also put money. Twanda says, not wanting to fail. Yeah, so these are many of the things that come up. And someone said, yes, fear to new challenges. So those are, as you can see, many of those are emotions, right? And even someone can say money is a mindset, which a lot of our emotions are tied up in our money origins and things that we were told consciously or unconsciously as children, right? A lot of these are our thoughts again and our mindsets that keeps us from implementing. So I want to ask a question just to kind of illustrate this. How many of us have gotten free information on how to run a business? Maybe you've been on a webinar. Maybe you even took my Mind Your Business challenge. Maybe you've gotten a free guide from someone with some tips on how to blog and how to monetize a blog. So just put yes, or me. I like to put me if you've gotten free information on how to run a business. Or how to do even some revenue generating activities. So if you did my Mind Your Business challenge, I gave you a whole bunch of stuff in there. Tawanda said me, or Twanda. Is it Tawanda? Can you put like phonetically how I'm supposed to pronounce your name? I don't want to mess it up. Dr. Anderson said yes. And Leslie said yes. I'm supposed to call you Dr. Leslie. I'm, speaking into existence, Dr. Leslie. Right? So most of us have gotten some free information. Twanda. Okay, good. Hi, Delita. Delita Savage joined us. So Delita, we're talking about implementing. I just asked the question, what keeps some of us from implementing? And people wrote fear, money, which I think is still a mindset, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of new challenges. And I asked the question, like, how many of us have gotten free information about how to run a business or even how to start making money from a business? Because if you're anything like me, you've been on the webinars, you've gotten the free guides, you may have even had coaching, like you paid for coaching, and you haven't implemented. You haven't made it happen. And it's because your mindset matters and it's getting in your way. So one of the things that come up around, and I have notes, so if you see me like going like this, because I want to make sure I cover some things. So one of the things that we often worry about, and the reason why I asked you, what have you received in information, is that we worry about the how, right? Many of us get so bogged down in how am I going to do this? How? What are the 20 steps I need to do, that we get overwhelmed and we don't implement. Who's been there? An information overload. Or you're like, I have to have the whole plan. I need to know how I'm going to run my business for the next 5 years. And until I know that, I'm not doing anything. Who's done that? You can just say yes, Quanisha, if you've done that. Someone says, so true. That's me. Right? So it's almost like what we're doing is self-sabotaging. Right? Because it's almost like we're what is that saying? Spite your nose to save your face, something like that. We're like, I'm not going to do anything at all because I don't have it all figured out. But perfectionism is a part of that too, right? It kicks in. It has to be perfect. I have to know. But if you think about this on a spiritual level, about what is faith? So can someone write down what does faith mean to you? And you don't have to go look it up in the Bible. I know, like 2 Corinthians has it. But just give me some ideas of what is faith. Yes, cut your nose to spoil your face. Thank you, Tanisha. I was like, it's something like that. So someone quickly, what is faith? Believing in myself and my genius, faith in my divinity. That came from Maria, I'll put on here. Leslie wrote inner strength. Delita said faith to me means believing anything is possible for you. So these are all great definitions of faith. And I want to give you this one to lean on. Faith is a hope in the unseen. And if you ever read that book, A Hope in the Unseen, it's about a boy who grew up, I think in Detroit, and he went on to Brown. And then you can even say my walk from early in my life, when I had that vision to go to Harvard and become a doctor, was a faith walk. I had no idea how I was going to get there. So Tanisha said, faith is believing beyond your means, but you have to work towards the goal. I love that. Because I love that you added believing beyond your means, but you have to walk towards the goal. So business, right, or anything in life, you can say, faith is taking the first step. It's holding on to your vision, right? So that's really, you can say that's the first step. You have to get clear on what you want so you know where you're going. So if you say, I want a business, think about what is your income goal? Or think about the impact that you want to have. But I always want us to think about money, because enough of us don't think about money. And money is just a tool, right? So that's one mindset to reshift some of our thoughts about money. Money is a tool to achieve your desires. Many of our desires require some type of cash in life. So say, like, when I started my business, my vision was to generate $5,000 a month. That was my vision. I've increased it now, but it was to generate $5,000 a month. If I was just waiting for the how, I wouldn't implement it. So faith, that hope in the unseen, right? That believing beyond your means that in order to make it happen, you just have to take one step. That's all God is asking of you. To take one step. Right? And I think Dr. King has a quote, and I don't know the whole thing, but he talks about, I think it's like, you can't see the whole staircase and you just take that first step. Right? So we don't need to see our whole ladder and staircase of success. We don't need to see the next 5 years on how we're going to make money. All you need, whether it's in prayer or whatever your practice is, or just listening to your intuition, is what is that one next step I need to take to get towards my vision? So who here thinks that they can take just one step towards the goal and vision that they have in their business. Just one step. No one's ready to take one step? You can write me if you're ready to take one step towards generating revenue in your business. Tawanda said yes. So to make it happen, someone said I took 5. Okay, so I want to back up. So maybe you took 5, but I'm talking about your next path and implementing in your business only requires you to take one step. Now, that best next step is different for all of us because we all are in different places and maybe stages or even mental spaces with our business. But often when we get overwhelmed, we think about the whole staircase or we think about the whole ladder. So Maria said me, Delita said me, Lexi said me, great. So the question to ask yourself is, what is the best next step I need to take so that I can make it happen in my business? All you need to figure out is the next step. For some of you, the next step might be signing up for MailChimp so you can start collecting emails. Some of you, the best next step might be making, like I like to call a sweet offer, so that people, a free sweet offer, so that people get to know a little bit about you and what you do and how you can start to transform their life and solving just one problem, right? Some of you, it might be getting real clear on what your vision is. It might be, let me write down my income goal. And one thing I know I can do this month that might help me get there. Tanisha said, I've been listening to you and in my other group, I have moving and producing. Great, you're implementing. You're making it happen. Awesome. Right? And so this reduces fear. Let me tell you why. So often fear comes up because fear is a normal emotion. So first of all, don't be afraid of fear. All of our emotions are the appropriate emotions at the time. And I like to say emotions are different signposts. And I like to say fear is like the stop sign, right? And at the stop sign, so we stop. And for many of us, we sit there at the stop sign. Because once again, we're looking around. Oh my God, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? I don't have the map of the whole city to know where to go. But what you're supposed to do at a stop sign is stop, right? Look both ways and keep going. So a lot of times when I'm coaching clients, I have them think of a ladder and I say, what is just that next spoke on the ladder that's not creating anxiety for you to do? Right? So what's not creating anxiety for you to do? So if you're thinking about your best next step, but it's creating all this anxiety for you, so one thing you can do is feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Feel that discomfort and do it. Excuse me. Or think of something else that you can do that's still moving you forward, but doesn't create all this emotion around it. For some of you might be like, okay, well, I can draft an email to send out to my newsletter to ask them to buy my book, right? But going to write the proposal for that speaking engagement creates all this anxiety for you. So maybe you're not ready for that, right? So think about in that best next step, either you want to feel the fear and do it anyway, or what's not going to create all this anxiety for you. And you're like, oh, that's easy. I can do that. But once again, the whole point is just taking that one step. You don't need to know the whole staircase. And let me tell you why. Each time you take a step, the next step reveals itself. Because you get feedback from your first actions that you took, and it helps to inform your next decision. So once again, each time you take a step, your next step gets revealed because it informs you, right, and gives you information about how you should go forward. Can everyone hear that? You can put yes. If you can hear that, yes. She should say yes. Right? And I like to call this targeting. So I'm not a big fan of traditional goal setting because I think we get, and Tanisha said amen, I think we get all wrapped up in our goals and we attach all these emotions to it, like, oh, if I don't make that $5,000, I'm worthless, I'm not good, right? Because even perfectionism is this myth that we're not good enough, right? So I'm not perfect if I don't hit this $5,000 goal every month. Well, for me, when I said my income goal was $5,000 a month, it was really a target I've been trying to hit. In October, I exceeded it. And since then, it's like I've been getting like $4,336 or something like that every month. And I'm like, I'm close. But with targeting, if you think of a bullseye, right, and you're shooting the arrow, you don't always make the bullseye, or if you're playing darts, right? And when you throw the dart, if it's over to the left, this so like, okay, I got to the left. Let me move over. Let me put my hand up higher. Let me put my hand down lower. There's not all this emotion tied to each one of your actions. You use it as a feedback with targeting, right? So it's like you adjust yourself and then you take action again. You throw the dart or you shoot the arrow. So that's why I like targeting so much better, right? So the idea is to get clear on what your targets are. Take an action, right? Take that step, see where you land, and then evaluate and make a decision about what your next step should be, because now you have information, right? So like many people ask me, how did you get 1,000 women to sign up for the Black Women Rise Guide? One, I made a decision that my free offer, I thought about what were people asking me all the time. And I said, people are always asking me, Quanisha, what are your resources? So I said, I'll make a guide of my leadership resources. And many of them were by Black women for Black women. So I was like, I'll do that angle. And then I was like, okay, so step one was done. I did this guide. And then it was like, well, how am I going to get it out there? And then what came to mind was Facebook ads. And I was like, okay, well, Facebook ads, that's just it. I didn't put any more thought into it, right? So I had Facebook ads. And then it was like, well, what am I going to talk about in the Facebook ad? And I said, well, why don't I share how the statistic that many of us are being overlooked, and this guide is going to help you move to your next level. So I ran a Facebook ad. And then I used that Facebook ad as feedback. So I looked at it an hour later and saw how it was performing. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to tweak the audience I selected because it wasn't performing as I wanted. And then I did it again and I did it again. And then it was performing the way I wanted it to. I just let it run. I didn't have to do anything. And then I said, hey, I want a tribe, right? And there's this idea in internet marketing that you have a tribe once you have like 1,000 women on your list. And so I was like, let's make a campaign, because my background's a community organizer. And I was like, let me ask the people who have signed up or liked the guide to be part of this campaign. And the campaign was Impact 1,000. So I was like, let's get to 1,000 Black women in this community. So as you can see, I just took step by step by step. And we did the campaign for a couple of days. Each day me posting something different or posting our progress. And it was actually, I say 7 days, but it was actually like 6 days that we got to 1,000 women, as evident by the amount of people who signed up on the list to download the Black Women Rights Guide. Hey, Tristan, Alexis, thank you for joining. We're talking about how to make it happen and implementing. So who thinks that they can just take their best next step? I want you to say, yes, I can do it. I can make it happen. And also, right, what do you think your best next step is in your business? Hi, Alexis. So if you know you can take your best next step, you can write yes. And then for some of you who might want to share, what is your best next step in your business? Delita said, yes, I can make it happen today, launching a webinar. Awesome. Maria said, yes, I can and I will. Tanisha said, yes. Right? So set your target and then take one action and see where you land on your bullseye. And Maria said, outlining the outcomes of my coaching program. Excellent. Because now you can talk to somebody about it once you know what the outcomes are. Leslie said, yes. So what is your best next step, Leslie? And you and I have a conversation coming up, so we can talk about it. Trying to say, yes, I can. So anyone else want to share what exactly their best next step is? What target? Speaking. Okay, awesome. So finding some speaking opportunities. Leslie does workshops and training for women. Someone said, I need to broaden my audience. So how do we break that down, right? Is it asking some folks, right, about who are in your target market? What are their pain points? What are their problems, right? That might be the best next step before you, because broadening your audience is a broad thing. So think about, if that's your target, what's the action that you're going to take to see where you land and broadening your audience? Alexa says, yes, my best next step is a class to assist with the structure and foundation of my doula business. So I think making a class, but so also with you, think about, okay, if the class is the goal, what do you need to do to get there? Do you need to create an outline, right, as your best next step? Because that's going to get you closer to the target. And someone said, I want to target on a 5K walk to promote polymyositis awareness. Awesome. So for that, right, with that as your target, your best next step might be making sure your donation page is up, right? And then after that, your next step might be sending an email asking people to donate to support your 5K walk. So we talked about targeting. So I want to talk about another obstacle to making it happen. And that is you keep seeking. You keep seeking instead of implementing. So many of you said you've gotten free information from webinars and different things on how to start a business or maybe some aspect of revenue generation. But how many of you have implemented on that information that you received? Like you did the thing that it actually said. Or let's see, for some of those who did the Mind Your Business Challenge, how many of you have actually completed at least one task from my free Mind Your Business Challenge? Kanisha said me. So what have you done from a free offer? What have you implemented? So some of you are, I guess, thinking. So the reason why I said we keep seeking is that sometimes in free information, we get a very clear to-do steps, alignment with values. Someone said signing up for MailChimp, PayPal. So I'm thinking those are things you've done. So Maria said she did the alignment of values from the Mind Your Business Challenge. Great, because that's the first step, right? Really getting clear on who you are so that you can build your business around it. Great. So, in building my email list, awesome. So I'm glad to see you all are implementing on free information. But many of us don't, right? Because that can be one impediment to you making it happen. So we get free information and then we keep seeking. And we keep seeking for a couple of reasons. And Maria said this earlier, perfectionism could be one of it. And she said she's marked herself as an artist and started going live. Great. So I'm glad you all are taking action. But for many of us who are watching later and maybe haven't, we keep seeking often due to perfectionism, right? Because it's that myth that we're not enough. There's doubt. Doubt comes up a lot. And your doubt can be just uncertainty that you can do it. It could be not believing that something will actually manifest for you, right? It's almost doubting your limits. Well, doubting what you can achieve. I always say in Price Pritchett says you should doubt your limits. That means you should believe you're going to succeed. Sometimes what we prioritize gets in the way of us implementing and why we keep seeking. Because we haven't come to our own come to Jesus moment and realize that we're not prioritizing the things that are important to me. And so Twana says she's opened a Facebook page to fight, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, polymyositis. Excellent, right? Because that could be the first step to starting to build a community in which you can market to, and for you is seeking donations and support for your organization, right? And we'll get into another conversation later because some of you are taking actions, but these are not revenue generating activities. So if you don't know what revenue generating activities are, because your job as a business owner in the startup phase is to generate income, right? So some of us are taking action, but it's not actions that are going to lead to money. So if you haven't done the Mind Your Business Challenge, I encourage you to go sign up. You can go to theconfidentceo.com, or maybe if someone can put it in the chat for me, theconfidentceo.com. So you can sign up for the Mind Your Business Challenge so you know what are some revenue generating activities. And so Alexia says, started a Facebook page, email address, flyers, and business cards, also working on my logo. Great. So it's great to be in action, but I want to make sure y'all all are in action around the right thing. So other things that keep us from implementing and why we keep seeking is that we have a fear of success and failure, right? And it's almost like you keep seeking information because you're not addressing the real issue, which is your fear that either you're not going to do this well, or you are going to do it well, and maybe that means sometimes fear of success is that, oh, my family's going to ask me for money and I don't want to turn them down, right? Sorry, my bra straps are showing. I don't know what's going on here. Fear of success could also be, oh, well, what happened if I make it and I have all these speaking engagements, but what am I going to do with my children then? Who's going to watch them? And so you self-sabotage and then you don't implement and you're like, oh, let me go back and keep seeking more speaking information instead of actually going after the speaking engagement or submitting your proposal or asking, answering a call for papers or speakers or whatever like that. Another way that we keep seeking, sometimes we give up too early on trying something. So that goes back to the targeting idea. We try something, say you do try something from a coach or something that you got for free, and maybe you didn't get the results that you desired, and then you stop. You're like, oh, that doesn't work. I'm done. I'm going to go find something else. Instead of staying persistent with it and say, okay, let me evaluate what happened here. Or let me talk to someone who does maybe do Facebook ads and get some advice from them, or let me invest in a program that teaches me how to do it so I can see what went wrong. Right? So that's very different than, well, I'm going to sign up for another webinar. Or I'm going to totally scrap this idea of marketing and go do something else. And then you're constantly always in this phase because everything doesn't turn out well the first time we do it. Right? Like I shared earlier with my Facebook ads. I saw something and I was like, okay, this picture's not working. Let me try a different picture and see how that converts, right? You're not using information as feedback, so we give up too soon. So those are some of the things that come around keep seeking. Is anyone a seeker? Like you just keep seeking information instead of implementing it? I know some of you said you are implementing, but have you ever had that experience where you're just like, I'm going to keep it's like information overload. I'm going to keep learning, and not doing anything? Or have you had some stuff that you learned and you haven't implemented on yet? And think about some of the revenue generating activities. And the way to know if you have done this is if you have downloaded something and it gave you instructions, or if you have a coach that you have worked with and they told you to do something and you haven't done it, then you might be a little guilty of this. You're seeking, but not implementing. Maria said, absolutely. Because another way that this shows up is that we start taking action on other things and not what we were told to do. Right? And sometimes we call this busy work. Oh, well, I added a buy button, or like maybe not a buy button, but like I was on Canva for 5 hours making a graphic for Facebook instead of working on my sales page. Right? Or I was writing my blog posts instead of making the calls to my leads that I got in order to like have a sales conversation with them. Or I designed my business card and I took 5 hours to do that instead of actually learning how to create an email list so that I can build my list in my community, which will generate my tribe, create your tribe in which you would actually be promoting to. And I do it too, right? Sometimes I'm on Facebook too much. I'm like, oh, I'm marketing. No, I'm just scrolling on Facebook because my brain needs to think. So even though I'm someone who implements a lot, I do it too, right? We sometimes get so focused on something else that's not a revenue generating activity, that's not within your role as a CEO, instead of the thing that's actually going to generate revenue. So you have to learn what and once again, not all your activities will always be revenue generating. Of course, we have low what do you call, like, admin activities and all these other things that go into just business tasks that you have to do. But if most of your things are around, like, you know, creating, you know, designing your Facebook cover page, or making graphics, or if it's like making things pretty, right, and not generating revenue, then you need to shift your priorities. Your priorities are not in the right place. Or if you say your business is a priority, but you keep taking auntie to the hair salon during your business hours, or you decide you're too tired after work to do anything around your business, or, you know, the kids keep coming first and you're like, oh, I got to tend to them instead of to myself, you're not prioritizing your business. And that's going to keep you from seeing the results that you desire, and ultimately being a CEO and an entrepreneur. And one of the final things that happens, I know we're coming up on 12:40, and how to make it happen, is you lack accountability. So say yes if you have made promises to yourself and you haven't honored them. So you've made promises to work on your business on Saturday morning and you didn't get up. You made promises to yourself that, you know, instead of talking to your friend at lunch, you were going to, like, work on your website and get up your, like, you know, maybe your field so that people can sign up for your free offer. Twana said yes. And we've all have done it, right? You made promises to yourself and you haven't honored them. So one reason that happens is some of us don't have often a healthy relationship with ourselves, or we value ourselves so much in our self-worth that we see ourselves as just as valuable as the promises that we would make to somebody else. Does anyone else do that? If you tell somebody else you're going to do something, you will get up, you can be tired, you'll put your makeup on, you'll go to church and volunteer, you'll do it because you made a promise to someone else because you're like, oh, I got to hold up my word, but you don't do it for yourself. She should say yes, right? So that lack of accountability shows up because many of us do that, particularly as Black women, because we're socialized to serve. You know, we can even say we get rewarded for serving sometimes, right? Sometimes just the expectation. Let's just say accountability is powerful. And definitely, Alexa said. So something that you can do, if that's something that, you know, is impacting you, that you're not keeping promises to yourself, is build an accountability support structure that you will honor. So for some of you, that might be getting an accountability partner that you respect, right? And that you two have a weekly call where you sit down and say, you know, what are you working on? What are your commitments for the next week? And now you know, or you have more incentive to get that done, because when you get on the call, say with Leslie, if Leslie was my accountability partner, when I get on the call with her, I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to look bad, so let me make sure. Even if it's the night before my accountability call, let me make sure I'm doing the things I said I would do. So Alexa says, we're more forgiving to ourselves than others are. And Tanisha said, yes, it is. Accountability is powerful, right? So if you're not implementing and making things happen, you might need an accountability partner. But it has to be someone that you know you're going to respect, and that when you tell them you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Because you might know yourself well and know, like, okay, if I say it to somebody else, I'm going to get it done. Now, another way to have an accountability structure is to actually pay someone. Who here feels that when they pay for something, they're going to get the most out of their investment? So you can just say yes. If you know you're one of those people like, oh no, I paid her $300. I'm going to make sure I get all my $300 worth. Anybody like that? I know I'm very much like that. I'm like, I paid for something. I'm going to make sure I get every single, you tell me there's a free Facebook group, I'm going to post all my questions in the Facebook group. That's part of my investment. I'm going to take advantage of all the things that you say are included because I paid for it. Tanisha said me. Anybody else, when you pay for something, you're like, okay. Tawana said me. So one thing I want you to think about is that often when you're investing in a coach or a mentor, it's not about them at all. Right? Because some people think, oh, I'm paying her. She's making money off of me. No, she's not. Some people are bad coaches, so that's something you do have to think about. But you really are investing in yourself through them, right? Because it's giving you accountability, right? You are exchanging your dollars because you know your dollars are going to be an accountability structure for you. And you're asking this person to hold you accountable to the things that you shared or the things that they're telling you to do. Because some people see themselves as mentors. They're like, I'm not your coach, I'm not your friend. I'm your mentor and I'm going to tell you what to do. You need to listen to me. I love mentors because I'm like, oh shit, let me do what they tell me to do and stop messing around. Right? But it's that extra idea that I paid for this. Because a lot of stuff, one of the reasons why you don't implement free stuff is that you don't value it. You don't have any skin in the game. But when you have skin in the game, when you paid for something because you saw the value in it, and often it was that vision or transformation that you were seeking, you honor it more. So Tanisha said, and Marie said, amen, yes. And Tanisha said, that is the typical mentality, but at the end of the day, this person can't be successful unless you are, right? And Tawana said, I need that, right? So that's why I'm a big fan of investing in yourself through other people. And once again, it's my mentality that like, look, I'm investing in something. I'm going to get all I can out of it. And I'm going to listen. I'm going to let this person hold me accountable. Because I only invest in people that I respect. So that's another way. If I respect them, I'm going to honor them and trust that they have my best interests at heart. And that helps me to maintain the accountability with them. And so there's some other ways to, so once, like I said, hiring a coach that you respect and trust so that you can make the most of the money and honor that person as well as yourself. So that can be one way you're honoring yourself by setting up the structure. And some of you might like public attention, right? That holds you, not attention, but stating something publicly might be a way to hold you accountable. So some people suggest, and this doesn't work for me because I think I don't care that much when I post something publicly. I'm like, I didn't do it. But for some of you, posting on Facebook or sending an email to your network and saying, I'm going to work on this, or my target is $5,000 a month, and I'm going to try to achieve that by, in this next quarter, or that is, I'm starting a business and this is what I'm working on. Sometimes that public declaration helps to hold you accountable to implementing and making it happen. Anybody like that? When you state something publicly, you're like, oh shoot, I gotta make sure I do this because that girl from high school is on my page and I don't want her talking about me, or my mama saw this now and they're gonna ask me about it every single time I see them. So I need to make sure I'm taking action on this. And a lot of people do this around fitness goals, but you can even do this for your business. So Leslie said yes. Who else? Like public accountability really is like makes you get it done. Are the rest of you like me and we're like, we don't care what people think? Because I'm like, I don't really care. So for some of you, once again, so hiring a coach might be an answer to have accountability. Having a private accountability partner where you two are touching base, and make sure it's also someone that you respect. Or public accountability. So some people do this by posting on social media or sending an email to have that support structure outside of themselves. Because like I said, and many of you acknowledge, we don't honor our own word or our promises to ourselves because we're so used to like serving. right? So we're so used to being committed to other people. So let's set up a structure that's going to support us in doing that. Tanisha said, it makes me get it done. I'm not going to lie, right? When you say something strongly. Maria said, it wasn't as strong for me. Exactly. I made another decision. So, right. So this is a way of knowing yourself. And it's not beating yourself up and saying like, oh, I made a public post and I didn't do it. Something's wrong with me. No, just know that that's not for you. Like, I know me declaring something on Facebook is not going to make me do it because I don't care. But once again, my structure is if I pay someone and I hire someone that I honor, and I'm not showing up to that call not having done the thing I said I was going to do. So I know I need that structure. Because even with accountability partners, I've done that when I'm like, oh, I didn't get around to doing that because I was tired. So sometimes the accountability structure doesn't work for me unless my accountability partner is the type of person that's going to get in my butt. And they're like, look, I'm not talking to you anymore unless you get this done. This is not a social call. Right. So Michelle or Leslie said, who is the other social worker around would like to partner with her for accountability partner? So she's right above you. Maria Shuttleworth has a doctorate in social work. So maybe you two can connect. Unless there's any other social workers who want to chime in or contact Leslie. It says El Michelle Garcia, so that's Leslie. So just think about what are your strengths and what's going to work for you. So this whole thing around making it happen is truly about having an honest conversation with yourself. I know we have to wrap up. It's only one. You know, we talked about fear of success, fear of failure, having doubt. Where my notes go? Worrying, right? Worrying about having the whole how. And a lot of it is having this honest conversation with yourself and saying, what do I need that's going to help me make it happen? Not feeling bad about yourself, not judging yourself, but really just being truthful, just looking at it as a fact. I am like this. So if I want to actually have a business that's generating revenue, it's going to require you to take actions. And so I need this to do that. Right? Maybe you need a blueprint so you know exactly what it is that you have to do so that you can stop seeking information all the time and keep asking, is this for me? Right? Maybe you need to invest in someone because you know that when you invest in your money, you're going to make sure it happens. Or someone that you respect and you don't want to disappoint them. Right? So it's really for you, but you don't want to disappoint them. So you're going to take actions that you need to do. Right? Maybe it's having that accountability partner. Right? So that you can do it. Or even having a coach to help you figure out what is it in your mind that's holding you back. Right? You might know you have a fear of success, but what is it and how do we start to work on that so that's not keep holding you back in achieving your goals and what you want to do. Tanisha said, I probably may need to pay someone for mine. Yeah, so just knowing yourself, right? Knowing that. And the very last thing I just want to end on is another thing that keeps us from implementing is comparing ourselves to other people. This is your walk. No one else is going to have your walk. And a lot of times we're comparing ourselves to someone who's in a whole different stage of business. So like even many of my mentors, I can't compare what they're telling me to do often to what they're doing because many of them are in a growth phase of their business because they're millionaires and doing other stuff. And they're like, look, we're telling you to, in your startup phase, your job right now is to make income. Don't worry about what I'm doing because I'm trying to increase my visibility and my brand and volume. But just trust them that they started where you are. Tawanda said, I need a coach for sure. Right? So don't compare yourself. Don't fall into that trap of comparison because that's another thing that stops us from implementing and making it happen because we start to judge ourselves and we start to question our worth and what we're doing when we do that. So this is your unique walk and that walk only requires you to take the next step. And so many of you are saying that I need a coach. And I am a coach for Black women CEOs. My training is in cognitive behavioral perspectives, right? I'm a certified master life and corporate life coach. I'm a Black women CEO coach. I particularly focus on our particular needs and even some of the things that all the things I talked about today, and really helping you to implement so that you can take your business to the next level. And Leslie said a great one. Yay. Both Maria Shuttleworth and Leslie have been my clients in some capacity. So I guess, that's some good people to ask if you ever want to know. As well as you can go to QuanishaSmith.com and Success Stories. I'm actually going to post the link here. Where if you want to explore if and how we can work together, you can go to the link I just posted. It says Become a Confident Black Woman CEO. I particularly work with folks who are in the startup phase. So if you, I want to say, if you have a business idea, but you know you're really dedicated to implementing and saying, I'm going for this, not just I want to explore. No, if you really want to start your business, I can help you start off in a way that's going to be revenue generating and giving you the blueprint to do that. I work on the internal and the external. But also, if you're in those first 3 years of business and you're like, okay, I've been floundering, I've been trying different things, I'm not seeing consistent revenue generation, I'm also for you. Because it's like, all right, well, let's figure out what's been happening. Let's assess that and figure out what are your next steps so that you can also get consistent income coming in. Right? And like I said, there's the internal and the external. You might be missing some things in your structure as to why that hasn't happened. So if you go to the link I just posted, it's the bit.ly/confident CEO. You can learn more about scheduling a complimentary confident CEO session, strategy session, so that we can explore if and how we can work together. Right? And like I said, it's an exploration call. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, this is what needs to happen. No, let's explore if we're a match, because I'm not a match for everyone. And everyone's not a match for me. Because like I said, if you're not going to do any work, don't set up a session. But if you do want to figure out what is your best next step, right? How can you be held accountable? What do you need to do so that you can generate revenue? Because one thing I did see on this call is that many of you are doing things, but they're not revenue generating activities, right? Creating a Facebook group, just because I have one, I have a strategy around this, is not a revenue generating activity in and of itself, right? Working on your business cards, it's not a revenue generating activity. Right? Building your email list is a step towards a revenue generating activity, but it's like, what do you do once you have that email list set up? Those things after that are revenue generating activities. Tawanda said, yes, you're a great one. You are hired. All right, girl. Well, let's set up that call so we can get talking. Click on the link. Maria said, and a great coach. Happy client over here. Awesome. Tanisha said, okay, you can be my coach. Where do we start? So once again, go to the link so that we can schedule a time to talk. So once again, you can see if we're a match. So I do require application. You have to apply for a Confident CEO strategy session. And I'm looking at the clock because I actually have one at 1 o'clock. So I need to jump off Facebook Live. But yeah, so Tanisha, Twanda, I think somebody else. Well, you two right now I can see the link on the phone. Yes, definitely schedule one so we can explore if and how we can work together. So I hope you all enjoyed our lesson on how to make it happen, some of the barriers to implementing, and also some of the solutions to overcome those barriers that keep you from implementing. Because my whole vision with our Black Women CEO Circle is to get us to that status where we really own being a Black Woman CEO and we have revenue generating businesses. You're making money. Because if you aren't making money, you have an expensive hobby. That is not a business. All right, y'all. So I'm going to see you all later. So we're doing this Tuesdays at noon. So if you enjoyed today, tag some of your friends, ask them to join the groups, share the link with them, because the more the merrier. And the group is really here so that we all can learn from one another. And so Maria says, amazing chat. Thanks for this information. As usual, you rock. Thank you. Tanisha says, I'm completing my application now. Awesome. And Leslie said, thank you for being you, Quanisha. Yay. All right. Well, I love you all. Have a great day, and I'm glad we got to have this lunch chat and chew. And I will see you all soon. Alexa says thanks. So thank you all for joining and sticking with me for the hour. I really appreciated you answering, doing my call and response, and sharing what you're doing, and really just acknowledging and being transparent with yourself. Sometimes it's a hard thing to share our vulnerabilities and own them. So I'm so glad that you all did that so that you can really move to the next step. So once again, if you want to explore your best next step, and if that best next step might be working with me, I'll post the link again here. You can apply for a Confident CEO strategy session so we can explore it. And also, it's just a great thing to have anyway, because you can just figure out like what is really holding you back. So I explain some of the benefits on the page so you can read about that there. All right, y'all. So, and for those who are watching later, thank you for watching. Peace and love. Bye.